founder of Oregon Women for Trump, connecting the day's events to President Trump's re-election efforts, Leak railed against the threat of encroaching Marxism and the dangers of black supremacy. Well, self-styled Proud Boy security guards roamed through the crowd, questioning journalists about their affiliations and attempting to intimidate those whose answers they found unsatisfactory. Very, very disturbing stuff. And I mean, like, that is a place, if I were a journalist, I would not want to, I mean, that's kind of a more personal thing. Maybe I would. I mean, a little dangerous, but I don't know. But it is I can totally get, let's just put it this way, I can totally get as a journalist why you would feel unsafe in a Proud Boy rally, because these are people who, they hate you. And they have said time and time again, the people who have actually bothered to drag themselves out of their home and show up, like, they're pretty serious. And you've got it, we've seen they have very much kind of this violent ideation. Violence, they talk about it all the time. They kind of play that off like it's a big fantasy for them, and that is, like, you have to assume it's not a far cry from reality that they could possibly want to carry something like that out. So, yeah, police and tactical gear were mustered near overpasses outside Delta Park on the northern edge of the city, but with the exception of the occasional visits from a handful of liaison officers, the Proud Boys were largely permitted to police themselves, which is kind of funny considering if they were denied a permit, again, because of coronavirus restrictions. Massive amounts of cops came anyway, and they were allowed to police themselves. If that was a leftist protest of any kind, I mean, that is just, I just explained something that if that happened, it could not happen at a leftist protest of any kind, because they don't allow that to happen. But yeah, so police and tactical gear, again, were mustered near these overpasses, kind of in the northern edge of the city, but they were allowed to police themselves. Attendees were well armed, carrying rifles, sidearms, knives, bats, bear spray, and at least one electrified taser shield. Nearly all the demonstrators wore some type of tactical gear. The letters RWDS, an abbreviation for right-wing death squads, were commonly seen on patches, which is kind of funny, because they're just saying that they're right out. There's no hiding there. There was abundance of pro-police thin blue line flags attached to pickup trucks, body armor, and merchandise table. Of course, they had a merchandise table. Thin blue line. That's, like, it's always the best when you see that kind of stuff going on. A handful of gunmen ran a checkpoint near an entrance to the park. An RV in a Walmart parking lot appeared to serve as a weapons and body armor depot for some of the protesters. So it's like, it almost seems like they're like making some sort of militia encampment here in a weird way. Neither attracted attention from the police, of course. Who cares? Why are there a big, massive store of guns and body armor and RV? Want to check that out? Oh, I don't know. Not really. It's just like, it's hard to make you feel safe when this is the kind of co-optation, the cooperation that's happening in your city. It's very, very disturbing. So another shield ended up in the back of a truck that was later pulled over by police. Law enforcement seized several guns from the vehicle, and a third shield spray painted the words FBLM. Two of the men in the truck were given criminal citations for possession of loaded firearms in public, and I guess no one else was possession. Those citations, they're going to work out great. But authorities say they were investigating an incident in which a man was filmed kicking a live streamer in the face. At least one of at least three instances in which demonstrators were recorded putting their hands on members of the media. The victim said he was punched in the head and received a concussion. The assailant, who was photographed chatting with state police, gave a casual TV interview after the attack. German, who he's closely tracked law enforcement response to the far-right violence in Portland under the Trump administration, said the means for protecting the public have been long clear. If it's not, this is a former FBI agent, it's not as if it required aggressive police action, just proper planning, a presence, and a few token citations and weapon seizures made a huge difference. Yet, law enforcement still left room for criticism, allowing militants to man armed checkpoints and harass and beat journalists while and others without interference reinforces the idea that police condone these armed out-of-state groups coming to Portland and intimidating, threatening, and assaulting residents. These are people who are there and most likely live somewhere near in the area, but the Proud Boys, they come in and they travel from far and wide. These are out-of-state agitators in the same way that trope was being used in Minnesota, but I think in this case, if I'd have to bet. If I were a betting man, I would bet probably a lot more accurately in this case. So, I mean, this is very disturbing because we've seen this happen in more extreme examples throughout history. A lot of the police were also associated with the KKK back in those times. Like, the police inherently they're not any kind of friends of leftists, and there are going to be a lot of, I think, mostly ignored pieces that come out about how deeply this connection was intertwined. Days before the Proud Boys rally took place, Guardian and Bellingcat, an investigative journalism organization, reported a night trove of leaked chats obtained by anti-fascists in Eugene, Oregon, which showed a network of Pacific Northwest-based pro-Trump and pro-law enforcement activists planning to engage in acts of targeted political violence, including assassination of elected officials. People get shot, stabbed, and beat, said one of the members of the so-called Patriot Coalition in a leaked message. On Saturday, one of the participants in the chat group, a man named David Willis, who had identified legal advocates in the press as targets, threatened a reporter while holding a paintball gun. Shane Burley, the experienced Portland-based journalist and author with whom Willis targeted, later described the demonstration as the most paranoid far-right rally I've ever been to. Despite the low turnout, the Proud Boys had to paint a picture of a mission accomplished. Standing on the stage with a sunburned face and a wide grin, Proud Boy leader Joe Biggs said the rally gave him a boner, while National Chair Enrique Tarrio opted for a more measured tone, praising the governor's decision to declare a state of emergency in interviews with reporters. Both men were involved in ordering the physical removal of an independent journalist. And this is something that they just let happen. This is something, again, the police just let happen. They let these freaks come in to their city and order residents, order random people, independent journalists, people who are there to film the scene, order them around, beat them around, order them removed forcibly. It is think about all the places it can go. If you don't watch this stuff now, it can get ugly fast. Especially if this is condoned by all levels of power all the way up to the top in the presidency. This is standard practice right now on the right wing. It's incredibly disturbing. And I just don't know how you get around that. And on that note, I know it's not the best way to end, but that is all we have for you today. Thank you so much for listening to Newsflash. Really do appreciate it. Have a great rest of your day.